So I know there's there's a lot of videos that are scattered throughout this module to help you. So hopefully they're useful and you're not just like, oh gosh, I have to listen to another video. But for this one, it's challenging because I can't give you hand samples. We can't look at them in person. So you're looking at pictures, descriptions, and that can be challenging. So for the lab that you're doing for this module that we're focusing on minerals and igneous rocks together, certainly you got information in the lecture portion, right? You learned about some properties, you learned about some igneous rocks. It was a lot. And so here, when you do the lab, you kind of have to look through these first few pages before you can get to the lab. And that's for a reason. So I'm reviewing some of the information just to kind of get you up to speed. But some of this is helpful, I think, just in addition to, of course, the lecture. So the labs are supposed to supplement. So add a little bit, reinforce kind of what you learned. So I think it's really important that you kind of just go through this here. So this is minerals. What are they? Some of the properties as a review, and some common minerals that we want you to evaluate. So here, really what's important is their formula and the description of what they are, because we can use that and some of the properties that we know are associated with them, right? Some minerals are soft, some react to acid, right? Some have different colors. We're going to use that to help identify specific minerals. And once again, it's difficult when you can't touch them, feel them, look at them in person. So this will be something you'll use in lab, this little sheet here. And then for the igneous rock, same thing. We're reviewing some of the information that you learned in lecture and supplementing some. So this information is useful for you. And this video here is a reminder of how we name things in particular, because that's one of the things we want to do in geology. So the lecture is talking more about, where rocks formed and why and how and what plate tectonics are associated and how are minerals kind of making up properties of the rocks and all that kind of good stuff. In lab, we want to, in theory, if we were in person, we want to pick up a couple samples and go, oh yeah, I can look at this feature and that feature and look at a chart and say, oh, that's a basalt or that's a granite. That's what we're attempting to do here. So this video is to remind you of that and kind of show you how to use the chart, which is down here at the bottom. Once we know its composition and its texture, we can just use the chart to come across and give it a name. Is it a gabbro? Well, if it's mafic in composition, that's a term you're learning in lecture and reviewing in lab here, and it's coarsely crystalline or coarse grained, which means it has big crystals, then we would say it must be a gabbro. If it's mafic and fine grained, it's a basalt, right? So this is how you would use this chart to name the igneous rocks, and that's what we want you to do in lab. So review that information, and then we come to the lab itself, and voila, here it is. And so, like I said, you're going to look at imagery here. So you want to download, if you hadn't already, I would download this, right? So this is the download button. I mean, you can do it a bunch of ways. You click it, it'll give you a version. It's a little hard because it's squeezed into this forced size of the quiz. But if you download it, you can either open it in a PDF or in another window like that, and then you can just go from tab to tab. And of course, here I'm giving you the minerals and of course their names, and I want you to associate a property. So how are you going to do that? You're just going to come here and determine which is which. So I know it's not super challenging, but not much we can do in the lab online for that. And some other specific things associated with different minerals. Once again, you're pulling that from the chart that you are downloading, and I just showed you this one right there. All right. And then we're going to get into igneous rocks. Once again, we're using pictures here. So what are the compositions of these, right? The textures and all that. So how are you doing that? Well, you're looking at the igneous rock chart right here. And so composition and textures, how we name igneous rocks. So you're using that to help you answer all the questions that you see here in the lab. And then once you're done with that, you're going to go to Google Earth. You'll click this. It'll download, and then you'll open it in Google Earth. And it's fairly simple. We're just identifying where some igneous rocks are in Arizona. And so it's asking you for the geologic age. So remember from the geologic maps, there are names that are associated with certain time spans. And so rock type is what we're looking for in other cases. So how do you do that? Once you open this in Google Earth, you should get something that looks like this. Remember, these are place marks. So when the question says, hey, go to South Mountain, like here, and what is the age? All you have to do is double click the place mark and it'll fly you to that location. And then because this is color coded, all the colors indicate a different rock type. And then if you click it, a pop-up will give you information. This is where the answers are to the questions about the map. And so you can zoom to other places. You want to go to Superstition Mountains, it'll fly you there. You click on that and then it'll give you some information about the rocks and the superstitions. If you want to see what they look like, this little check mark will take away the map and you can see, oh yeah, there's the superstitions. There's Saguaro, Apache, Canyon Lake, all in there. I live over here, that kind of stuff. Oh, there's South Mountain. And then of course you'll need the map back to answer the questions. And so it's fairly simple, but you're going to just go through here and answer the remaining questions using Google Earth and the map. So hopefully that's not too bad. It shouldn't be too crazy, but hopefully it'll associate some of the stuff you learned and give you some imagery and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully it'll help you with understanding minerals and igneous rocks. Okay, good luck.